My name is Alex Marshall. I am 32 years old and work as an architect at a renowned construction company in the city. My life is quite busy with various projects, but I always find time to enjoy my hobbies, which include reading horror books and watching scary movies. However, I never imagined that one day I would experience a horror story of my own. The story began when I moved into a new apartment in the city center. This apartment was located in an old building that had stood since the early 20th century. I was drawn to this place because of its classic charm and strategic location. The building had been renovated several times but still retained some of its original architectural elements, which made it look elegant and historical. I lived in Unit 404, a spacious two-bedroom apartment with large windows overlooking the city. Everything seemed perfect at first. However, after a few days of living there, I started to notice something strange. At night, when the surroundings were quiet, I often heard strange sounds coming from behind the walls. Initially, I thought it was just normal noise from the neighboring apartments, but the sounds became increasingly disturbing. The noise sounded like soft whispers, sometimes accompanied by the sound of footsteps slowly approaching and receding. Every time I tried to listen more closely, the sound seemed to vanish. I felt confused and a bit scared, but I tried to ignore it and continue my life as usual. One night, while I was reading in the living room, I heard the sound again. This time it was clearer and closer. The soft whispers seemed to come from inside the wall behind the sofa. I felt my hair stand on end. Carefully, I approached the wall and pressed my ear against it. "Can you hear me?" the voice whispered. My heart pounded. I quickly backed away, unable to believe what I had just heard. Who was speaking? And how could there be a voice coming from inside the wall? The next day, I decided to investigate further. I spoke with some neighbors on the same floor, but none of them had experienced anything similar. They all seemed puzzled, and some even thought I was hallucinating. However, the sound did not go away. Every night, the whispers continued, becoming more and more disturbing. I started losing sleep and feeling stressed. I tried to find information about the building's history, hoping to find clues. From the building's caretaker, I learned that the building used to be a mental hospital that closed in the 1950s. Many scary stories circulated about this place, including tales of patients who mysteriously... One night, when the sound returned, I decided to take drastic action. I took a hammer and chisel from my toolbox and began dismantling the section of the wall where the sound originated. My heart pounded as I chipped away at the wall bit by bit. After a while, I discovered a small hidden room behind the wall. Inside, I found an old wooden box. With trembling hands, I opened the box and found several items inside: a journal, black and white photos, and a letter that seemed very old. The journal belonged to a woman named Emily, who, according to the letter, was a patient at the mental hospital. In the journal, Emily wrote about her suffering and fear of a cruel doctor. She also wrote about how she was hidden in this small room to avoid the doctor, but she never managed to escape. Suddenly, I felt a bone-chilling cold, and the whispers returned, this time clearer and more urgent. "Help me!" I was terrified, but also felt pity for Emily. I took the journal and letters and brought them out of the room. I then decided to report my discovery to the authorities and also contacted a friend who worked as a paranormal investigator. My friend Rachel came to my apartment the next day. She brought equipment to detect paranormal energy and tried to communicate with Emily's spirit. After a while, Rachel said that Emily was still trapped there, seeking peace and justice for what had happened to her. With Rachel's help, we performed a ritual to help Emily's spirit find peace. We burned the journal and letters, hoping that Emily could finally rest. After the ritual, the atmosphere in my apartment changed. There were no more whispers or disturbing footsteps. I felt relieved but also sad for Emily's tragic fate. This experience taught me that sometimes a dark past can come back to haunt us in unexpected places. I continued living in the apartment, but every time I looked at the wall behind the sofa, I always remembered the whisper behind the wall and Emily's spirit, who finally found peace.